Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 297 of Dial the Gate, the Stargate Oral History Project. My name is David Reed. I appreciate you being with me here today. Blu Mankuma, who played Sheriff Knox in Stargate SG-1's Nightwalkers. You've seen the man in so much stuff. I recognize him in everything from over the years. He is joining us live. So if you have some questions for Blu, go ahead and submit them in the YouTube chat, and my team will get them over to me. In the meantime, I get to catch up with him. Blu Mankuma, I love saying your name, by the way. Thank you so much for being with me, sir. How are you?
I'm almost too good.
I am so grateful to have you, sir. I've seen and been an admirer of your work over the years, and it's a pleasure to have you. I've got to know, theater, television, film, music. What is your first love?
Theater probably.
Yeah.
Here is the teacher. I get asked quite frequently by up and coming actors and stuff what my advice would be, and I tell them all do stage, because the thing in film is, and I'm sure you know, you they set up for the shot, and you're drinking coffee, and then it's there, and they get the lighting perfect on it, and say, and action, blah 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 blah, cut, okay, going again, and you have that time. But on stage, man, you know, when it starts, you go all the way through until it's done. You may be an intermission, and then you do the second act or whatever, and what you learn about your character during, say, a 3 week, a 3 month run it's insurmountable. There's no way you can do that just sitting down and reading it. The
Mm.
actual playing of it, and reacting to what the other characters say, and one day he might say, uh, he went up the stairs, and then the next night he might say he went up the stairs, and your reaction to it is based on how he delivers it and stuff. And man, I'm saying, after 3 weeks of that, that character so well. And in film, you just don't get that familiar. It takes so long. It's a whole different process. And so I would say stage. And to anybody that wants to try acting, do theater. And if you can, do some Shakespeare.
Oh man, it's a whole language in and of itself. The iambic pentameter and everything that
Oh,
goes behind that. How vital is an audience to a performer in terms of um, getting and other actors as well that you're dealing
yeah,
with when going through a piece night after night for weeks on end.
yeah.
How much, as a performer, how much feedback do you get from your fellow cast, crew, audience members in terms of sharpening a performance over a protracted period of time?
Yeah. Well, you'll hear it from anybody who's been in front of a camera or on stage, and well, not a camera so much, but on stage. Say, for example, the first 3 or 4 nights, you do this line, and you get this big laugh, and then you do it on the fifth night, and you do it, and there's nothing. Maybe a couple
Mm.
people here in the back, but and it's like you delivered it the same way, but you know and you have to figure it out, man. You just have to figure it out. I don't have any sage advice about it's because blah blah blah. I don't know. It happens, and you make your adjustment and move on. But it's kind of startling. You hear ha ha, people, and you have to wait for the laughter to kill, and then you say the same line the next night, and dead silence. Comedians will tell you that. And that's my best material. And they'll say it, nothing. Crickets out there, man. you know, but you have to adjust on the fly and do something with what you got, man.
Is it really easy to fall into the feeling that, oh, the first four times, yeah, it was received well. This fifth time, it wasn't received well at all. Maybe I should pull it. Is it really or maybe I should adjust it or take away what's really been making it successful? Is it easy to fall into that trap as a performer, to get stuck
No,
in yourself?
that's how you fall in the trap. You don't see it coming, you know,
Oh,
and it's after it happens that you have to figure it out, man.
yeah,
It's like being on stage and forgetting your lines, and it happens, and some people panic, and that's the wrong place to go, man, because it ain't gonna never go, man. But if you relax and just breathe and give it some space, there it is, man. And then you keep going, because it's okay to take a pause,
mm,
you know, pinch or pauses. I mean, it happens, but the thing is just to always be prepared for anything, man. And that means whatever comes up, you got to deal with it,
yeah.
handle it. Yeah, man.
Don S. Davis. He's a
My beautiful.
mutual connection of ours.
Oh, I love that man so much, man. We became very good friends. You know, because most of us, because his voice was so low, his mine and stuff, and so we go for a lot of parts, and we would be competing for the
Is this
parts.
how you first met him?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we became fat, but that's how I met a lot of people, a lot of fellow actors is in the audition room while you're waiting for your turn to go in, sort of thing, and you just talk. And that's how Don and I struck up a friendship, and it just grew and grew throughout his whole life, man. I
What
miss
was
him.
this in the 80s when you guys met? Early 90s? Around when do you recall meeting him?
Yeah,
Approximately.
oh, at the exact moment, I don't know what the role was or anything
Yeah.
like that. I just remember that was process. We were in the audition thing, and because back then the industry has changed so much from what it was back then. And they were just and for whatever category, there were a certain amount of people. Like I loved it when when one of the other parts they were auditioning was the young ingenue, the beautiful young ingenue, and there'd be these gorgeous actresses. Woo, that was all right for yeah, yeah. Um, and like I say, that it's changed so much now with the whole COVID and all and a
Yeah.
lot of it home, and you don't get that familiarity of going down to the place and seeing. Um, I did a film, and I don't remember what the name of it now, but it was Robert Townsend, who was a brother that I heard about for years and knew his work and stuff, and he came up here and shot a film, and I was lucky enough to be in it. But it's because when we went to the audition, when I went to the audition, he was there, and I was just thrilled to meet him, man.
The film is
Because
called Holiday Heart.
yeah, man, you know your stuff. Where'd it go, bro?
Google.
Yeah, man. Right,
Can
uh,
you
uh,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
losing you.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, the connection went bad for a second there. Do you have any specific memories of Don that you can share with us?
Uh, just that he was from the South. He had this deep Southern accent. And
Lou, are you still with me? Wireless connections, everyone, they can be unpredictable.
starts buffering, I guess, and you lose me, huh?
Yeah, I just lost you for a second there. Can you hear
Okay.
me now?
I can hear you. I can hear you the whole time.
My apologies. You went out on me.
Well,
You
you
said he was from the South, and that's where I lost you.
went down on you. Hey, hey, come on, keep it clean, okay?
You said he was from the South, and then you lost, and then I lost you.
Oh yeah, okay. And he had this deep, beautiful Southern accent, man, and he's just one of the most gentle, nicest people I've ever met, and a hell of an actor. You know, yeah, Don could throw down, man. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. I would go to his place and just hang for hours. And I think he was trying to write a novel. I don't know if he ever finished it. He was writing something, as I recall. You
Did
know.
did you know Ruby?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I knew her before they got together.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember why, if she was an actor or something, but yeah. And I was so thrilled because I knew his wife too. I knew the
Yeah.
lady he was for and things, and he wasn't really happy in that situation. But he loved Ruby. That worked out really well.
Ruby is a, pardon the pun, a gem.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful personality, inside and out. I was so happy that he connected with someone in the latter part of his life, and her words, just a few years ago to me, were, "I miss him terribly." When you
Oh
find your person,
yeah,
you're a lucky man.
you are. You've been blessed by God, by the universe, by everything, man. Because that doesn't happen for everyone.
This is true.
You know. Yeah.
You played in season 6 of Stargate SG-1 Sheriff Knox, who was uh, the leader of a town of people who had been taken over by some aliens. It was one of the few episodes that was totally Earthside in this show, and this was your appearance in Stargate. Do you? I know this is a stretch. Do you recall anything about that experience from that particular show?
No, I don't. And I
Okay.
really, honest to God, I've done so many
Yeah.
films and I was trying to remember, but no, I don't. I was trying to view it so I could, refresh the memory, but that didn't happen either.
Oh, the
And
link didn't work. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, I wish I'd known. I would have sent you a copy.
that's okay. That's okay.
There was your the amount of stuff that you have been involved in. Um, the we really have to be thankful for the opportunities that we're given, and I think
Yeah.
that also uh, increases the opportunity for those things to happen to us again, because in so many instances, if I think personally, if we're not grateful for the opportunities professionally that we're given, they sometimes tend to dwindle. And I'm just looking at your list of experiences here. It's just extraordinary, the career that you've had. Are there any
Oh,
highlights over the years besides the one with Robert Townsend?
yeah. I mean, we spoke of Shakespeare a minute ago.
Yes.
I was doing some plays with one of my dear friends. His name was Ernie King. He had a theater in Vancouver called the Flamingo Theater. It was down by the P&E kind of thing. And honest to God, you know how I got into doing that? I looked in the newspaper for ads, and I saw they were looking for black actors. Now, how often does that happen? you know, look in the newspaper when they want ads, and the black actors wanted for this thing. And I went down, and we struck up a great friendship, and ended up doing some stuff. And at first, it was groups of people. He was doing these plays that call for large casts. But the problem with doing pro-am things, professional and amateurs, is a lot of people, they don't have the discipline and stuff. And for example, one of the plays we did, I think it was Ceremonies and Dark Old Men. One of the guys who played one of the main characters, man, he didn't even show up for our final rehearsals and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
You know, good Lord. So when we got a chance, we just pared it down. There was a playwright out of South Africa named Athol Fugard, and he wrote a couple. I did with Ernie. We did the Blood Knot, which is two actors, um, and it's 3.5 hours long. We cut it down to 3 hours, but it's a lot of dialogue too. And then we did Cicely Bonzi is Dead. Again, two actors. And I didn't know it when I said, yeah, let's do that one. And I went home and I had the book, the script, and I saw on the first page it was just chock full, and then I said every word on it. I turned the page, I said everything on the next one. I had a 45-minute monologue, man. I didn't know that when I said, yeah, let's do that one. Yeah. But oh, you want to triumph.
How do you consume that and
You do
then spit it out in all the right sequence? 45 minutes. Is it a
45
muscle? What is
minutes.
it?
I'm with Bill Cosby on it because this photographer, and he was telling stories about these families that would come in and get their portraits taken, get their pictures taken, and he described everything. So I just told it like Bill Cosby would tell it. It was really a fun, but the connection with the Bard is I was doing that, and there's a school in Vancouver called Langara College, and they teach acting, all so on and so forth. Anthony Holland used to run it, and he came to see the show, and he went back and put a notice up in Langara and told the students, if you want to see real acting, go see this show. And then he came and asked me if I would like to do Othello.
Othello.
Yeah. Othello.
Wow.
So I thought about it. I thought about it for quite a while. And then I decided, okay.
I would be scared. I would be terrified.
I was. I'm getting to that part.
Okay.
But I decided, yeah, okay. I think I'm decent, but I want to know what my limits are, who I am in this game. And so I said, yeah. And then I panicked. I used to live in Richmond, BC, which has got a lot of bogs and there's a lot of water. I went to one of those bogs and sat on the log, and the words came. Here was the word, what have I done? Because to me, at that time, Shakespeare was, thus thee thou forsooth. And I don't even know what that means. And, let alone, but I told myself, you're not only going to do it, you're going to do it well. You're going to knock it out of the park. And it was because I wanted to be the actor that had that in my travels history. I had it in my past, that I had done that well. And I knew the growth that I would experience as an actor would be phenomenal. And it indeed was. We set records. It was a great production, man. Yeah. I'm so grateful I said yes to that. But years later, I don't know if you recall, but Kenneth Branagh, Lawrence Fishburne did the film version of it, of Othello.
Yes, 1995.
Yeah, and Fish, I did a film with Lawrence. I call him Fish because everybody does.
Yeah.
And yeah, but he said when he did it, he was talking to James Lawton on the Actors Studio. Remember that? He used to interview, and he said, so I was in my agent's office, and I was about to walk out, and the agent said, oh yeah, by the way, Branagh, Othello, think about it. And I said, then wait till he said, when I thought about it, said, I came back and I said, yeah, I'll do it. He said, oh, right. And then what happened? And Fish said, I panicked. I went, yeah, I know, man. I scared the living daylights. But like he did the same thing that I did. He jumped on it and made it happen for himself. And he's a wonderful actor. Just, I don't. We did together Cadence. It's with Martin and Charlie Sheen. It's my favorite experience shooting film. It's called Cadence, and working with the brothers, and it was phenomenal. We shot it in Kamloops.
1990. Yeah, Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen, Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
Michael Beach. Michael Beach.
Yeah. We'll
Man.
always be brothers. That was one of the most phenomenal experiences I've had shooting a film. And first, when Gary was in it. Gary, what's his last name? Jesus.
Let me see here. I'm not
He was
getting a
doing part.
Gary.
Yeah, Martin took it over.
Okay.
Jesus. Busey, Gary Busey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
don't
I
have him
know.
here in the cast.
Well, he wasn't. He didn't happen.
I
He
see.
was doing it for a while, but he was off. Something about him. He had been in a motorcycle accident and hit his head on a curb or something like that, and he was just out of control, man. And I don't want to speak ill of the man because
Of
I liked
course.
him a lot. Now, his son was there, and he's a beautiful Jake Busey, and
Okay.
Martin had to let him go, man, and it broke his heart because they're old friends. They go way back, But for the sake of the film, he had to step into the role himself. He was
That's
doing it in rehearsals anyway.
that's the thing that would terrify me. Whereas, if someone comes along and says, "You're Othello, I think you can
Yeah,
do this," part of me
yeah.
would be like, "Are you sure?" I don't. I mean, what an honor. Thank you very much. I'm flattered, but do I really
Yeah,
have it in me? And I hear what you're saying, where you sat
yeah.
there and something came down in the form of
Hmm.
that pep talk and said, "Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Just
You're
go
not only
for
going
it.
to do it.
Jump in."
Do it well. You're gonna slam dunk this, brother. And because I wanted to be that actor that had done that, and I projected my view of myself into the future
Mm,
with that kind of past, and thought, yeah, your confidence would be through the roof, man. If you not only do it, but do it well,
yeah,
you know. Yeah, and that's what we did. Like I said, we set records. It was cool, man.
you have to believe in yourself.
You have to, but there's a natural inclination, especially look. The biggest fright in the world is stage fright. I watched this program one time. This guy had to. These were. It was the IRA, so they had guns and this thing. But this guy told him he had to go up in front and tell them something. It was something important that had to do with the group. And this guy was all kinds of nervous and twitchery, and he said, "What's wrong?" He thought the guy that was watching him be that way. He was thinking maybe we're there's an attack coming, and he knows something that I don't know. So he asked him. He said, "No, it wasn't that, man. I have to talk. I have to get up in front of people and talk." And I said, "Shit, no, he'll face gunfire, his life in jeopardy, all that naturally. But go up and say a few words in front of people,
Wow.
yeah, that's a biggie. But a
Julian
lot, man,
Julian Glover, theater actor for years and years,
yeah,
would puke his guts out before every single
yeah,
performance. He never got over it.
yeah. Well, the first lady of American theater in the early part of the century, Helen Hayes,
Mm.
she used to wet her pants, man, opening nights and stuff. And I said, "See, it's not about what you've achieved. It's like, oh, okay, so I have to do my thing, yeah." And man, that panic sets in, and you have to become friends with it.
Yeah.
You know,
You have
you
to
have
you have to
to,
accept it.
yeah, yeah, and embrace it. And you don't try to push it away. Use it,
Right.
man. It really can help with the performance. Trust me, man.
Well, you're being asked to go out on stage and execute 100,000 beats in order. I think there's
Hmm.
some part of you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that just has to lean into the fact that we've prepared, we're ready, it will come, and you just
Yeah.
do
Well, I
it.
I learned. You've done theater, right?
In college, in high school, yes, but not since, to
Okay,
my great regret.
I understand. Trust me, I do. But there's a thing you do when you're reading the script at first, where um, and it's called an Italian. Do you know what that means? It's when you say the words as quickly as you can. You
Yeah,
don't have to
without
do all the
without
inflections. You don't
any
have to
inflection, right?
because it's yeah, yeah, and just do it. So I adapted that. It was my own idea that if I could say my dialogue that at that speed as fast as I can, stuff, then when I slow it down to the real time, it's nothing to remember it. If I can remember saying and say it that thing, it's really solidly in my brain, and that's how I've done that ever since I figured that little move out, man.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
and all the plays. I'm talking about. Remember the 45-minute monologue and all that. That's how I did it. I was taking Tai Chi. I remember at the time, and my teacher had a thing where he would say, "You get in the pose in the position," and he'd just leave the room and go have a tea or something. And a
And
lot of
leave you
times
there?
yeah, but it's good because that's how you get good at it, And but what I would do while he was gone is like run through my lines in my head, you know. So it was useful for all purposes. I'll say,
Wow.
yeah, and
Center yourself.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you got to stay centered, and because it's hard when you're then down, you're in that position, and you can't just stand up and shake it off. You got to stay there. And if he might be gone for a half hour, man, you got to do it, man. And that's how I worked it out.
It's a
So
lot of
everything,
discipline.
yeah, but every step of it, everything I did to make myself capable of doing it enhanced every other aspect of it. So it was just total growth, man.
Wow.
And I've had a phenomenal career. I got to say, I don't know if you know, but I didn't even know it was possible. I have 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. And I didn't even know that was a thing.
To have more than one.
Yeah, honestly, God. Yeah, honestly, God. I'm so flattered.
Well,
So
I
flattered.
have always loved your work, and frankly, if I may be perfectly frank, I was disappointed that we only got you in one episode because like this guy can do anything. He would have been
Thank you.
you
Thank
would have
you.
been great in more shows. I do
Yeah.
have some fan questions for you.
Okay.
Lockwatcher, you were one of the only few actors who also had an animated role in Stargate Infinity, which is no one ever
Mm.
talks about Stargate Infinity. How did you
No,
get started involved in voice acting? At what
it
point
was
did that come along, or was it the first thing?
well, no. The voice acting was, yeah, it's totally separate. I used to, when I lived in Richmond, I would go down to Pinewood Studios. They, it was there's a place called Little Mountain Sound. That was a recording studio, and Jeff Turner he worked there. He was one of the engineers,
Mm.
and he left Little Mountain, and he was from England. He and his wife Jeannie, and he founded Pinewood Studio in Vancouver. And I used to go down there and just sit because I love the atmosphere and sit and read Billboard. Just sit, And there was a production outfit right next door called Coco, Koko, and the guy came in and he needed somebody to do a voice for a product. This brother came in, he had a clothing store. I think I can't remember the name of it right now. And he needed somebody to do the voice on it. And it had to be a West Indian kind of thing. And he pointed to me and said, "Can he?" And Jeff said, "Yeah, sure he can." So that's how I got my first voiceover thing. And it was a success. It was a hit for the people, the guy's business. The commercial was very, very successful for him, and that was how I started. But how do you tell somebody now if you want to get in voice acting, go down to the studio, pick up a billboard, and just read it, and something will happen.
Something will it's like an apple falling on your head.
you know, I'm the God, man. Yeah. But that's how it happened for me. And boy, have I had a tremendous. That's my favorite work. I love being an actor. I love all the stage and film and all that. But voice acting, one of the things you don't have to memorize it, you know. And I'm very good at cold reading and things like that. And I love all of the people you stand on, because some of those folks are so talented. When I was doing Beasties, what we call Beasties up here is Beast Wars.
Beast Wars, yeah. I have a question about Beast Wars, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at one point, one of the guys started doing, was it Sean Connery? He started doing somebody like Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was
a name
Sean.
actor.
It might have been James Bond, but and then somebody else answered him in the same with the same voice, and suddenly I was in a room full of Sean Connerys. I can't do him, so I just sat back and enjoyed myself. It was just great, man. You know, I was in a room and Sean Connery broke out. it was just one.
There is something very intimate about the medium, where time means. I mean, obviously you have a block of time where you have to get this in, but you can take your time with it. You can fine tune a performance. You can figure out exactly how you want to perform it, and then just go nuts with it. There's something that I love about. I've done a little bit of it myself, and you really find facets of yourself that you didn't know were there. It's like, oh, I can express myself this way, and it works.
Yeah. And it's all voice. It's that's how you're doing it. And it's such an instrument, and I just love it. I adore that word. You know, because I've had the most fun. Going, how you not gonna have fun? You're doing a cartoon, man. Mm-hmm. You know, but one thing happened that blew my mind. There was this kid. I got a piece of fan mail from a kid, and he said what had happened with him is he lived in Chicago, and his family decided they moved down south. I don't know if it was New Orleans or Dallas, but a long ways away from Chicago and what that was, and to a whole new thing. And when he got there, he was so young and stuff. He locked himself in one. He just stayed in his room, and he didn't want to go out. He didn't know anybody. He just went, and he said, and he was watching Beast Wars, and he loved Tigertron. And that kid said to me, I swear to God, he said to me that watching Tigertron gave him the courage to go out the door and go meet some other kids and stuff. And he ended up loving where he had moved. But the way he got the nerve to do it was watching Tigertron. Now, look, I made a lot of cartoons on it, but I never heard a story like, you know, it blew my mind. It blew my mind, and just raised my appreciation level for what we do. And say, how the hell, man?
You can only hope that your performance is impacting people, but sometimes you know you have to get a letter that's like a conk over the head. It's like, oh yeah, you know, this does mean something. So it's not just a cartoon.
Yeah,
it can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, but it can be so much more. But who knew? And unless that kid had told me that, but look at his circumstances. You move from Chicago down to what, New Orleans, and that's boy, talking about culture shock. And you're a kid, and you know, and you're gonna get picked on and whatever, you know. But I will always treasure that, and I tell that story whenever I get a chance, because wow.
A fan by the name of T-Rex Laserbeam Explosion says, I loved Blu's performance as Tigertron in Beast Wars. Has stage performance helped you tighten your voice acting at all? Has one art form fed the other at all, or are they pretty unique in their own terms?
Yeah, they are, but also remember, I'm a singer-songwriter.
Yes. So
I've taken voice lessons and tried to make it as great an instrument as I can, for different purposes and stuff. But yeah, when you do stage, they're always talking about you got to reach the seats and the bleachers way up there. They've got to hear and understand. So even if you're speaking softly, they've got to hear you and stuff. So yeah, it's quite a discipline, and it's one of the chief reasons I tell actors starting out, do stage, because it's such a wonderful education you get from just doing what you're doing on opening night compared to what you're doing on closing night is night and day, because of the
Wow.
layers you peeled back on that character, what you learned. And you can't learn that. Well, maybe you can in film, but it's a whole different process. But on stage, man, every night you go the whole thing. You got to do the whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing.
Blue,
And
is there a situation in stage where you arrived at the end of a run and it was like, it's really time to put this thing to bed? I've had a good time, but I've really felt that I've done all I can with this character. Or has it all been like, I want to keep going and I have to abandon it, but I want to keep doing it?
well, I have a very good answer for that. I did a show. Are you familiar with the play Ain't Misbehaving?
I am about to be. Please continue.
Yeah, Fats Waller music, and it's just one of the greatest things. And dude, that show was phenomenal.
Okay.
The day after we opened, we were sold out for 2 months.
Wow.
But yeah, they loved that show. So I did it for almost 3 years. I did it for 2 years plus. And then I decided I wanted to, because films were beckoning, and I wanted to go and get back into my film career. But man, it was, every night was a party. Now look, dude, that show was so cool. In the audience one night, Muhammad Ali.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Muhammad Ali was in. Wilt Chamberlain came to see us. Whoever was in town, because Vancouver can, lots of things happen. Muhammad Ali, there was a new car and he was promoting it, so that's why he was in town. But he ended up at the show, and good Lord, yeah, man. So yeah, but I did end up saying, okay, I've done everything I can do here. I could have kept going. We were a phenomenal success, man. But 2.5 years, that's enough.
Well, sure, absolutely. At a certain point, when you've invested that long into a character, I mean, Fats Waller. I mean that. What I mean,
the feet's too big.
Right there. At a certain point, it's like, I love doing this, but also at a certain point, I would probably be like, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next thing. I may be holding on to this because I may be scared about what's next. Matt, you don't want to get too comfortable as an artist, I wouldn't think.
No, it had more to do with, at that time, with the actual salary I was getting. I wanted to be $1,000 a week, and I just decided, okay, because there were film parts. The moment when I really made my decision, I got a film part, and it was in this thing, and I was going to be chasing Tatum O'Neal and Tatum O'Neal and Irene Cara, and I can't remember the name of the film, but I was going to do it, and because of the show, they said they had a scheduling conflict, so they really wanted me, so they were going to give me another role.
Okay.
And that role, and so I was going to do it, but that day, Bill Millard, who owned the Arts Club and stuff, he scheduled a special thing for us to do, and we each made $25 for it. But that knocked out the film role, which and that was to me like the last straw. I was like, okay, I got to make a move here, and that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to leave.
You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times when it's like, certainly I've been in situations where it's like, yeah, this is worth doing it just to do it, just to be here for this. But at a certain time, you have to know when to fish or cut bait. It's like
Yeah,
I've got to go to something else.
and I always, at that time in my life, I wanted to feel growth.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel progress, and certainly financially. And like I said, I had answered all the questions I wanted to answer in the run of the show. We were a phenomenal success, man. We didn't. You familiar with Granville Island?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
I've been. I've been.
that's
It's a
where
beautiful place now.
it. Yeah,
Tom
but
Macbeth
that's
and I met there.
yeah, good friend of mine, Tom
Oh,
Goodfellow.
good
Yeah,
guy.
wonderful actor. Yeah, 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 yeah. So that was what that was about, and no hard feelings about anybody, about anything, man. It's just the way that life progresses, and it just progressed beautifully for me, and I hope it did the same for everybody else. I was
Absolutely.
with a wonderful cast, man. Yeah, a
Uh,
wonderful cast.
Misadventures of a Little Wolf wants to know where can we find your some
Where
of
you
these
get these
names.
names, man?
Don't get me started
I
on the
love
names.
it. I love it.
Where can we listen to your music?
I'm working on a new CD.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, yeah, and it's going to be out. It's called Cosmic Blue, but I have to do a couple more songs. It's turning out to be a Christmas CD because I got a Christmas song I did. But the old CD, now write this down.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Blue, BLU, and make capital BLUMAN, Blue Man, dot Bandcamp, BANDCAMP.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's my CD, Out of the Blue.
I got it right here, Out of the Blue. Okay, I'm sharing it with everyone. This
There
is
you go.
great. Okay,
Right
so
on,
we can
man.
get the digital album.
Yeah,
Wow, I
yeah,
love
yeah.
the art.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you do this artwork?
No. I had the idea, but a friend of mine did that. It's just wonderful. I told him I wanted a tree and blah 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 blah, and it turned out beautiful. I'm
Wow.
very pleased. Wow. Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sharing this with everyone now. I can't wait to listen.
Excellent.
This is great stuff. Thank you so much for sharing it.
You're more than welcome. Yeah.
This has been terrific. I've got a number of people. Luann says I've always enjoyed watching you in the many films that she's seen you in. But I really appreciate you taking the time and exploring the art form, the various art forms that you've experienced with us. I think when we get to later points in our life, and we get the opportunity to look back on a lot of the stuff that we've contributed to the world. It's some pretty solid experiences that if we're lucky we get to share. And
man, for real. Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time this hour to share some of them with us, and I can't wait to dive into some of this.
Let me tell you one other thing, because another one of those fortuitous things. I don't have a vehicle right now, so I've been taking the bus.
Yes.
And I took the bus and took it down Broadway, and I was going to Kingsway, and then I got on the bus, and this guy he looked at me. He said, "Blue?" I said, "Yeah." "Blu Mankuma? I've been looking all over for you." And his name's Will Williams, and what he was looking for me for was he has a new series that's going to start shooting pretty soon, and he had a role for me. He didn't know where to find me. He didn't know my name, my agent, or anything like that, and we just ran into each other on the bus. But it's called Black Knights, KNIGHTS, of the FBI. And it'll be coming. We haven't started shooting yet. So
TV series, FBI drama.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this a historical piece?
Yeah, it's based on, it's not about, but it's based on the two first Black FBI agents. Because you know that J. Edgar wasn't the font of Black people.
Yeah.
But they were in a situation way back when they wanted to investigate Marcus Garvey. He was telling Black people to go back to Africa and all that stuff. Right. And there ain't no way they could have gotten anywhere near him if they weren't black.
Right.
And so he needed black FBI agents, and that's how these two guys became agents. And that was their first assignment, investigating Marcus Garvey. So I didn't even know about that. I used to teach Black history, and I didn't know about that.
There's
But
a
that's
lot.
what gave Will the inspiration to write the story that now the Black Knights of the FBI is more, to me, it's more like In the Heat of the Night. It's
Okay.
reminiscent of that. You know how brilliant that was.
Oh yeah, that was shot near where I grew up.
Oh, right on.
The movie.
And
Yeah.
and just so you know, and because I have said, Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger, I got the privilege of working with both of those brothers, both of them, both
Wow.
giants. Oh man, you want a thrill, dude. Well, I was on. I just got into the set, and I can't remember the name thing, but because they changed it. But there was Sidney standing there, and I was trying to get to my trailer, and I saw him, and I think as I got close, he said, "Blue," and man, outside, because I'm gonna stay cool, I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
And I was, but inside, I was like, I lost my mind inside. But outside, hey, Sidney, how you? Nice to meet you, brother. But one of the biggest thrills of my life, meeting and working with him.
He is. I remember the first time I watched Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah.
And I mean, his scenes, especially with his dad.
Yeah.
Oh man, goosebumps.
Oh yeah.
So good. Way ahead of his time.
Yeah. Mine was the school thing in England. And the title is escaping now, but at one point he was a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And these Cockney kids, but they loved him, and at the end they gave him an award, and he was trying to make a little speech about it, but he was just tired. He was so emotional. So that's my favorite moment of him on film, and because it chokes me up when I watch him do it.
I'm gonna have to go. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna go watch it.
Yeah, To Serve with Love.
To Serve with Love.
Yeah, with Lulu, and it's a beautiful film. And yeah, watch that. I love so much of what he did, but and that's such a beautiful film, and that's a real life story. There was a man, who experienced that. Yeah.
Blue, thank you for sharing so much of yourself with us today.
You're so welcome.
This has been a privilege to have you and to get your thoughts on your experiences in life, and it means. And thank you for sharing some stories about Don, because in this community he was very important to us, and
he's huge to me. He always will be. Yes. And Ruby. And
Ruby, absolutely. And I'm going to keep my ears to the ground on this Black Knights of the FBI if you guys start shooting next year. So, I'm going to post a link to Out of the Blue on Bandcamp.
Okay. So. That's great. I'm so happy.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who participated.
Thank you, Blue. You take care of yourself. Be well, please. God bless you.
Always. You do the same. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That's Blu Mankuma, everyone. Sheriff Knox and Stargate SG-1. What a treat that was. And what an honor. Just a great human being. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate. We've got a few more episodes heading your way before we end with Season 3 at the beginning of December with Michael Shanks. He's going to be wrapping us up on Season 4. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, please click like. It does make a difference with the show and will help us continue to grow our audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click subscribe. And if you plan to watch live, do click that notification icon. Clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next few days weeks on both the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. My tremendous thanks to Anthony, my one-man modding machine today, brother. I really appreciate you being out there for me. Linda and my producer and Frederick Marcoux over at Concepts Web. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. My name is David Reed for Dial the Gate, and I will see you on the other side.